Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the land acknowledgement statement for the town of Smith Falls. On January 19th, 2022, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. The first item, second item actually on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. And before we do that, let's rearrange.
Madam Chair, I sorry to interrupt, but Chris he's here, but doesn't have video showing yet.
Okay.
But he's listening.
He's on audio?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. We're going to, with everyone's agreement, discuss the proposed new properties of interest first, since we have a guest and he may not want to sit through the first three items on the priority issues. So if that's okay with everybody?
Yep.
And when we do discuss the proposed properties of interest, we'll start with 2 Russell Street East after a general introduction to the agenda item. So would someone move that we approve the agenda, please? Katie, and the seconder? Tony, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Adoption of the minutes is the next item, the minutes of the meeting of November 17th, 2021. Would someone move that we adopt those? Lorraine, thank you. And a seconder? Katie, thank you. All in favor? Great. Disclosure of monetary interest, anyone? No, hearing none, we will proceed with the priority issues. Starting with the proposed new properties of interest. And I just want to elaborate a little bit before we get into discussing specific properties, what it is we're trying to do here and why. The role of the Municipal Heritage Committee is to identify properties of heritage value or interest and make town council and town staff aware of their importance to the community, along, of course, with members of the community. Many of the historic downtown properties are either formally designated through a bylaw as heritage. For example, the town hall is one of those, the Hotel Rideau is another, or they're listed on the municipal register as properties of interest. Currently, we have 16 formally designated properties in Smith Falls and 18 on the municipal register as properties of interest. Not all of those are downtown, but many of them are. The municipal register is a list of a community's heritage assets. Placing a property on this list recognizes that it is of value to the community. It means that the property is protected somewhat while further research is done to determine whether it should be considered for a formal heritage designation. The Municipal Heritage Committee is interested in protecting and preserving as many heritage buildings as possible, especially in the downtown area. Now, speaking specifically to Paul, our guest, we would like to add your property to the municipal register as we believe it to be of architectural value, as we described in the summary that you received and that all committee members have seen. And this building was identified as important by an architectural historian who came to Smith Falls a few years ago and helped us develop our current heritage walking tour. And this building is featured in the heritage walking tour. So Mary, do you have any additional comments to make about the properties of interest list?
So I guess I would just add to it that the Heritage Register is a requirement that the municipality maintain it under the Provincial Ontario Heritage Act. So primarily, it's meant to list the designated heritage properties. Secondly, it also contains properties which we refer to as a property of interest. In terms of level of protection for a property of interest, it's not very restrictive whenever there's a property of interest on the register. What it does do is it creates a protection of demolition. So a property owner would then be required to notify the municipality with not less than 60 days notice of an intent to demolish the building. So that would be the protection that would essentially be on it. And that the purpose of that is to essentially allow for a period of research and possible designation if the building were to be set for demolition. Ultimately, something else I would say is that the consultation before any properties are added to the register as a heritage property of interest is entirely at the committee's discretion. It is not provincially mandated that we consult with property owners before adding a property to the register as a property of interest. So this is something that as a committee we've chosen to do because we like to have property owners on board. Mind you, at the end of the day, and just a reminder, the committee is charged with making a recommendation to council. Council makes the ultimate decision as to whether or not a property is added to the register, and property owners will be notified of council's decision following any motion, recommendation, or bylaw.
Okay, thank you, Mary. So we can now have general discussion. Anyone want to make any comments or ask any questions? But we'll stick specifically, I think, to Russell Street East that for now. Paul,
Yes,
would you
I'd like to ask a few questions. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this meeting. So it's my pleasure to attend. So I received the letter, and I'm glad that this has been considered to be added to the registry. And now with a few remarks from Mary, I think I understand exactly what that means. So adding it to the registry doesn't mean it's going to be automatically a heritage building. It's kind of waiting to be added as a heritage. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So my only questions are: I do not plan to demolish. I do not plan to change the facade. I do not plan to change anything to the building. I just plan to maintain it. Like in terms of the financial responsibilities moving forward, if it gets added to the registry and later it becomes a heritage building, what would be the financial implications in case I need to do some repairs or maintain the facade? Should I get specific contractors which are somehow agreed by the municipality, or I can hire whoever I want?
Would someone, a member of the committee, like to address that question? So I don't do all the talking. Chris,
Yeah,
are you
please.
there? Oh, okay, Lorraine, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think in the case of the facade or the outside of the building, especially if it has its original facade, if it's a property that might be listed in the property to be designated, there are certain windows, for instance, or a particular wooden facade that was very special. It might be listed. In your case, you would just continue to take care of your building, beautiful building. And I guess where it would come in is if you were going to be doing something drastic, like taking things away, adding something to it, or changing the character of the building. It's usually not, a big difficulty.
Does he have to have special architects or people to make those changes, or can anyone do it if he
No, he
wants
does
to make?
not.
No, okay.
No, he definitely does not.
Okay, that answers my question, because as years go by, I think I may need to do some improvements. I need to maintain it. I need to repaint it. I need to fix a few things here and there. I plan to keep it the way it is, actually. And I do not plan to make any substantial changes to the appearance of the building. But the only concern I have is in being restricted artificially to use a subset of factors which are it happened in some municipalities. It may not happen in Smith Falls, but in some other places, you are supposed to work with contractors which are agreed by the municipality, and they usually come at a higher price.
No, apparently not. Sure.
Thank you. So that's it. So other than that, I have no issues. I assume the changes inside of the building. That's not something like I mean, like repairing walls or changing walls. Is that something that it's somehow tied to the label of heritage building, or is not?
When, if we reach the point that we recommend a heritage designation for the building, then we would list the heritage attributes for the building that we would like to see preserved. And they, as far as I'm concerned, would be on the exterior, not on the inside.
I see.
It's the architecture that we would really like to preserve in its original form, because I think it's the only example, people can correct me if that's not true, but I think it's the only example of that kind of architecture in Smith Falls. That, what was it referred to as?
Flemish,
I think
Flemish
it said
bond.
Edwardian classicism. Isn't that what it was?
Edwardian classicism, yes,
I think so. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
What is a Flemish bond, I wonder?
I don't know.
Well, we all have to find out.
It's something to do with the brick, isn't it?
Don't know.
Yeah, that was one of the things that the architectural historian noted. Any more discussion or comments or about this particular property before we?
And I also assume that the designation of heritage does not care what's the designation of the first, second, and third level. So right now we have a restaurant at the first level. In the future, it may or may not be a restaurant. I like to keep it as a restaurant. That's not under fully under my control. It's a kind of market driven. The second and the third floor right now, they are residential, but again, that may change in the future. They may become commercial. Would that have anything to do with the heritage designation, or it's totally independent?
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't have any effect.
That's a zoning issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a zoning issue.
Yeah, the whole building, I believe, at this point, it's designated as commercial. So I think the zoning is quite large in terms of coverage of everything that we can fit inside. But that was my question. If it's restricted by the heritage, it apparently is not. So thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to move on then and start talking about some of these others.
Thank
The
you.
first one.
The meeting,
Sorry?
so I would like to leave the meeting because I think that all the other items on the my.
Thank you for coming.
Yes,
Thank you very
much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's
Bye.
great to meet property owners.
Yes,
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so 23 to 27 and 27 to 29 Beckwith Street North, that's the old stone building with Boomtown, the Boomtown restaurant, and that Vinnie's on the other side.
okay.
That is one of the oldest. I mean, it needs that one needs some TLC for sure, but it's one of the oldest stone buildings we have. I'm assuming you've all seen the the write-ups that I did for them. I think we're in error with 28 Beckwith Street South, which was Fort Hemlock, because when I checked the list, that's already on. Did you notice that, Mary?
I didn't catch that, but I appreciate
Yeah.
it. You did.
I thought that the Washburn block was just the building on the corner with the fancy decorative ironwork over the windows, but we've in fact put the whole block on the properties of interest
Good.
list. If we got 28 Beckwith Street South, which is Fort Hemlock. So I guess we've taken care of that one already, so it's a bit redundant. We didn't even need to send a letter. And then we've got those 3 buildings on Main Street East, which we've been talking about for quite a while. The McGillivray block, or sometimes known as the Coombs block, which is 4 to 6, the Union Bank building at 10 Main Street East. And then the third one, the Stone building, which was at one point the Foster and Graham store, but originally, as far as I could find out, going back in the records in the Heritage House, it was originally a store owned by J.D. Lamb. And I wondered, Tony, if wasn't there an Agnes Lamb that?
Yes.
So there's some relation there.
J.D. Lamb, that might be Agnes's, could be her father. There was a son, but I'm not sure. We'll have to ask Ted Outerbridge what happened to him.
So, yeah, so we've talked about those 3 buildings before and wanting to protect and preserve them. Then we've got 21 Market Street North, which is the Armory, and we've talked about that one before as well, about how we'd like to preserve that piece of the history of Smith Falls. 11 Market Street South is the old Smith Falls Hydroelectric office, which again is one of the oldest stone buildings we've got. It looks as if it was built around the same time as 30 Chambers Street, which apparently was built in the 1820s to 1830s. And that old hydro office next door, how far did I go back with that one? As far back as the tax records go, to 1856, it was already there. So you might notice a theme here, because these buildings are made of stone, and we don't have a lot of stone buildings, but we know that there's some of the original buildings that were built here, and it would be nice to think that we could preserve them. And then 7 Russell Street West, that's the Davidson Courtyard, so it's not as old, but again, it's on the Heritage Walking Tour, and it's a unique little, not little, but a place in town that, again, I think it would be nice if we could move forward on that. So do we want to discuss any of these any further?
I think so.
Well done.
Yes.
I spent a lot of
Absolutely.
time in the basement of the Heritage House Museum, I'll tell you.
Good for you. Good for you.
So we're not going to move forward on this today. We've notified the property owners of what we wish to do. They haven't perhaps had quite enough time to respond yet. So we've had a public discussion, and hopefully at our next meeting, we'll be able to consider moving forward with a motion to include them on the municipal register.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Dorothy, did each of them receive the letter that you sent in our package? They did.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Everybody
really
got
like
that letter, and on the back of the letter was the summary that Mary
Okay,
took from.
excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's great.
Well, I'm glad to get that finished, because I wasn't going to go around looking for any more at the present time. That's quite a list.
Yes.
Okay, so the next item then is the downtown revitalization renter project feedback. If Chris, are you there, Chris?
Can't find his delete his mute button.
Sorry, I'm
There
on
he
mute.
is.
Can everybody hear me okay? I'm having some connection issues tonight.
Yep,
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So the report's there. It's a Word document. We didn't get any edits on it, so I just wanted to make sure there was no final edits before we before we PDF it, kind of thing. Last call from anybody, or
What are we looking at? I'm confused. Sorry. What
Oh,
are you
just-
asking us?
that report, if there's any edits before we pass the resolution. And
Which report is it?
The render project feedback report,
Subcommittee.
subcommittee, sorry, yes, subcommittee.
I didn't get that. I must have printed it or something.
we emailed it a while back, so maybe.
Sorry. I didn't get it.
I think Mary included it in the package, didn't you, Mary?
Did.
Yeah. We did look at it at the last meeting too, didn't we?
yeah, we discussed it and,
We discussed it, but we didn't, there wasn't enough time to really.
Right.
Yeah,
what was it you wanted to know, Chris? Was there anything else about it?
Yeah, just kind of a final opportunity for questions or comments, and then we've got the resolution there. So if we can pass the resolution, then we kind of check the box beside this one and forget about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want a motion?
Yeah, Tony, do you want to move?
I will so move, yes.
Great. Katie, did you want to second that one?
Second it.
Worked
I
on it to-
second it.
all in favor?
My hands up.
I see it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was a lot of work, Chris. Thank you for pulling that
Yes.
together.
Thanks for Katie and Tony and everybody in the comments. I think it's important that we got the constructive criticism in, and hopefully, hopefully it makes a difference in the future. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Madam Chair, may I just clarify that motion? Staff's direction is to provide this to,
Chris,
I
who
mean,
will we
sorry, are you
provide?
guys just adopting it, accepting it? Are we providing it, circulating this? What's
The motion,
direction of the motion, yes.
Tony, you're moving the recommended resolution in the report.
Yes,
Okay.
I move to, that the recommendation is forwarded to council, right?
Yeah, so you're moving that resolution. So that resolution, I think, says council, the accessibility committee, and the CIP.
Yes.
But I don't have it on my screen right now.
Perfect. I didn't have it on my screen right now either, so maybe that's why I was confused, but I wrote resolution in the report and I will copy that in. Thank you.
I don't have a screen
We
to put
don't-
it on, so.
Yeah, we can, we don't need to read it.
Lighting issues, oh dear. Okay. So are we finished with that item?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Next thing is preliminary discussion of the Heritage Symposium for this year. I guess we would need a subcommittee to start working on that. Lorraine?
Are you putting forward having a virtual symposium? Is that what you're thinking? Or what?
I'm not really thinking anything. I didn't put it, Mary put it on the agenda. Go ahead, Mary.
I did put it on the agenda. It's been a couple years. Unfortunately, I haven't successfully seen a symposium in my employment with the town of Smith Falls, which seems unfortunate. But what I was thinking was that this year, we do have a general idea of what our COVID world looks like. And I was hoping that maybe the committee would like to put together a subcommittee to see what we can do to put together some form of symposium this year and what that could look like in our pandemic world.
One question I had, sorry, I can't figure out how to put my hand up here, is
Okay, go ahead.
the, I know the Brockville is supposed to be having the Ontario Heritage Conference this year. So I was wondering, maybe would we want to try to, if they needed help with that, we could try to offer or work with that this year, or collaborate. I don't know. I don't know when it is, and I don't know what they've got planned with COVID.
Tony?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, that's what the point I wanted to bring up. The Ontario Heritage Conference is being held on June 16th and 18th. I was going to bring this up at Roundtable. I was invited to participate in it. The theme is light at the end of the tunnel. And yeah, it's going ahead on the 16th and 18th. But so that is definitely going ahead. I was invited by Marianne Gibson today.
So should we, at this point, form a subcommittee to start looking at this, Mary? You putting your...
Well, I would like to see that. I also wanted to mention, because Chris mentioned Brockville, but actually I have been approached by some of the ladies at the Heritage House Museum who also host a fall event. And if we appoint a subcommittee, we were hoping that maybe the Municipal Heritage Committee would like to do some kind of collaborative event with the Heritage House Museum in the fall to do kind of a week-long event collaboration. We're not entirely sure what that would look like. It's very preliminary that we were discussing it, but we thought that maybe if a subcommittee is appointed, that could be discussed further.
That sounds like a great idea.
Okay. Now, what about the venue is what I would ask. Is this still going to be at the Station Theatre? Because every one of ours has been held at the Station Theatre. And that comes out of our budget.
Your budget? Which hat are you wearing?
I'm wearing my Municipal Heritage
Okay.
hat at the moment, yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, if it was a week-long event, could it not take place several places?
That's kind of what we're thinking. So again,
Yeah.
very high level. Financially, we're thinking that they would be separate events that we could publish concurrently, so together, but say, you know, the symposium event, the more informative part would be our financial responsibility and to arrange, and then the Heritage House would be able to host more family friendly events that would involve the kids, but we would publish and promote the event as one.
Sure.
So
It's just a
separate but
preliminary
together.
thought.
And
Yeah.
what would it be called?
Well, that's what we were hoping that we could work out with the subcommittee. So if the subcommittee is appointed, members from the Heritage House would like to participate with the first subcommittee meeting to see if we can work something out that would work for all parties. And if that's the case, then we could move forward with a collaborative event.
Okay, well, I would like to be on the subcommittee. I'd like to meet those girls and work with them too.
I'd like to be on the subcommittee.
Mary, you have to be on the subcommittee.
Yes, I will be participating.
Okay.
Well, with other members from the Heritage House, that'll probably be a good committee. I don't know, do we need, I mean, there aren't that
Jenny
many.
might be interested.
She might
Jenny.
be, yeah, she might. Well, thank you, Lorraine and Katie and
And
Mary.
shouldn't we have someone from the Railway Museum too? If the Heritage House representative is part of it, shouldn't the Railway Museum have a representative as well?
I'm not
It's
sure.
not-
I've been in touch with the Heritage House because they're like under the municipality. I'm not sure. Is the Railway Museum as well? I thought they were a separate entity. They're not, they don't operate.
What's that
under
got
the-
to do with the conference, though?
Oh, it doesn't have anything to do with the conference. I was just saying that that's why I've been in touch with Heritage House and not the Railway Museum. That obviously would be a component, but the reason why I've been in touch with the Heritage House Museum is that they're a municipal entity, so we've been able to directly discuss.
So the Railway Museum is involved in the Ontario Heritage Conference anyway, right, Tony?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Mhm. And the Tulip Festival.
So who will be responsible for, you know, calling a meeting of the committee and contacting the Heritage House people? Mary will, okay. You. Any further discussion on that item? No? Okay, what's next? Oh, Heritage Week, right, February 21st to 27th. That's very soon. I guess the question is, are we doing anything for Heritage Week?
The last thing we did was put up Agnes's pedestal in front of on Bay Street, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe we want to do
And,
another pedestal.
And also the contest, the photo contest.
Oh, yes,
But it had to be delayed, didn't it? Is that what happened, or?
Well, we did it, but it didn't do very well.
It was, yeah, it had to be postponed because of the pandemic, and then, okay. Well, we don't have any new pedestals ready. We don't have anything like that that we can do, so. Mary?
I did have an idea. I know I'm not a committee member and it is last minute, but I thought maybe the committee would like to do a series of social media posts for properties throughout town every day of that week, just to raise the heritage awareness and the fact that it's Heritage Week. So I'm not sure if maybe the committee would like to just do a different post for each day of the week with a different heritage property, and it could just be scheduled as a post to social media and get it out there. Like I said, it was just a last minute thought because we don't have a lot of time.
It's a great idea.
Yes,
Just
it is.
just to raise the interest.
Yeah. And really, there's little work to be done because the information's already been gathered. It's just a matter of, would you suggest sticking with the designated ones perhaps, or Tony?
I think that's a great idea. What I was going to throw in the hat was that Ted Outerbridge has done some great research on the Wards and Simpsons. There's a whole era of Smith Falls that's virtually unknown. That might be able to be thrown in there. Maybe we could even enlist Ted's writing skills to write it up.
Yeah. He's an old member.
Yes, an
I
ex-member.
mean, a past member.
Mhm.
A past member, right.
You want to ask him, Tony?
Sure.
Or just see what maybe he has an idea too. But that, I love your idea, Mary. That's.
Yeah, some great old houses around Smith Falls that people know nothing about.
Yeah.
You know, from doing the tours, people are just astounded, like that. Places like Lannon's, you know, that it was a hotel and
Mhm.
yeah, things like that.
I
yeah.
didn't know that.
You were never at that hotel?
No, I've only been here for 20 years. 20 years here.
It has a reputation.
Now, well, we won't have had our next meeting
No, I mean, it's only a
by
month,
then. Yeah,
so.
maybe we, well,
Okay, who's going to do these heritage posts?
Mary.
Well, yeah, I can coordinate them with the communications coordinator, and like Dorothy said, quite a bit of information with the heritage properties of interest, cultural statements. There's quite a bit of information on my end that I can put something together, but by all means, Tony, if he's gonna reach out to Ted to see if there's some interest and maybe Ted wants to write a couple, and then I can also put together a few with the information I have on my end, run them past Dorothy, and maybe get get some ones that I have some photos and some nice old photographs from the Heritage House Museum.
Sure.
We
And then
we can
send
use
them.
this too, right?
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because the work's done. It's just a matter of picking something and posting it, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So at this point, it'd be really easy for me to put together, and I would just need Tony to let me know, I guess, what Ted's interest is and how much he wants to do.
Will do, Mary.
Okay, and if there's anything I can do, Mary, just ask me.
Sounds good.
Okay.
By the way, this is the way we do it at the museum, Railway Museum as well, Mary. If you come up with a bright idea, you get stuck with implementing it.
I know, but this one doesn't seem that difficult. You guys have already done the heavy lifting on this one. I just thought it'd be a good idea to put it to
Yeah.
use.
It's a great
Good-
idea. Thank
Good
you.
idea.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to the updates then. I guess that's you again, Mary. First one is Town Hall renovation phase 3.
Okay, so the first one, I did get an email from Director Manhire today, just with an update. As you recall, the committee created a pretty intricate motion back in November of their opinion. So his update included that council's ultimate direction was to use vinyl clad windows for the renovation for phase 3 of Town Hall. He also let us know that a contractor has been retained for the replacement of the host tower windows and doors, and that the installation is scheduled for spring 2022. Lastly, he noted that he did obtain quotes for the retrofit of the interior of the host tower, and it was deemed by council to be too expensive during discussions of phase 2 of Town Hall renovation. So that's that update.
So the hoses won't be hanging there. Is that was that the?
Well, it sounds like they're going to leave them as is. I took a look at your motion. It didn't really say anything about public access, but his response seemed to be more concerning about the retrofit to meet Ontario Building Code requirements to allow public access.
She only wanted people to look in the door, I think.
That's
We
right.
made that quite plain, have we
That's
not?
right.
Lorraine?
Yeah, no, what we wanted was it to be just protected from people going in it, but they could still look up and see it. That's
See the
what our
inside.
request was. It had nothing to do with
The inside.
or building code or anything else. And I don't remember council passing that, what you just said. Chris, are you there?
I don't know what council passed or didn't pass. I did look at your motion though, and the motion essentially asked that the interior of the host tower remain the same. It didn't actually denote anything about public access or viewing
No.
of the inside. It just asked that it be left in its current condition, essentially.
But it said for viewing. That's
For
what
viewing.
they went on to say for viewing.
Yes.
At
Chris
least
has
that's how
his
I
hand
remember.
up. So Chris, I see you have your hand up there.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm frustrated with the host tower conversation because it just seems like we're going in circles where we've talked about having a railing or some kind of a gate inside the proper doors that keep people out, but just make it visually accessible. And we keep getting, it's the same with the water treatment plant. I'm getting really frustrated with the way the town is acting as a steward of heritage assets, because as a municipality, we have these great buildings and we're not doing our due diligence. We're not being good stewards. And I think that I want clarification on the vinyl clad, because my understanding is that council went with the architect's recommendation of aluminum clad, and I think there's a big difference in quality of materials there. So I would be even more disappointed if on top of not going with wood, they've just thrown it all out the window and gone with plastic. So I think we need follow-up there, and I don't know how much energy and time we want to keep this back and forth with community services going, because it seems like we can't seem to collaborate or get a straight answer. So I don't know what we should do next, or if anybody's got any strong feelings on that one.
Tony?
Chris, I can echo that, because we seem to be in the chain, like we're asked for our recommendations, but they're never negotiated in any way or followed. We have one of the predominant historical buildings in town, meaning the town hall, and none of our recommendations have been followed on it, not one.
I agree.
And things that are outstanding, like there was a sign that doesn't meet any kind of our design guidelines that was going to go at the front. The light for it's there. The sign's never been installed. It's just, there's like with the host tower, the windows were supposed to go in. They've never been installed. So we're on phase 3 now, and there's still things from phase 1 and phase 2 that haven't even been finished, let alone whether or not our recommendation was followed. Right. So I don't know. I'm pretty frustrated with this, and I'm not sure what else we can do, or what other tools are at our disposal.
Could we possibly share this with council?
In the form of a letter or a statement, or?
Oh, could we put it back on an agenda, Mary, maybe? Chris could speak to it on an agenda item and just say, you know, we want clarification. The MHC has recommended keeping the host tower as it is for only viewing, not for going in. So, I mean, in my opinion, that doesn't put anybody at any risk. They're just looking in.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does is it shows a working host tower just as it was in its original state, which in my opinion is one of the greatest assets we have.
You mean
It's a
an
shame
agenda
to
for,
fire it up.
on the agenda for a council meeting? Do you mean, Lorraine?
Oh, I don't know. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, maybe we could reach out to the building inspector and just see what our options are,
That's
so
a good
that
idea.
then we could present an option that's been vetted.
That's a
And
great idea.
if it's just a matter of if it's as simple as it seems to be, or kind of
Yeah.
common sense is telling us it could
Yeah,
be, great,
right.
you know.
Yeah.
But maybe we can try to get that for February, if we could go over there and take a walk through it with them.
Yeah, good idea.
I'd like to go too, because I've never seen it.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
They forgot to lock it last summer or the summer before. We got a great tour of it.
So, am I to understand that council has voted against wooden windows for the town hall phase 3?
Yes, but my understanding, the architect's recommendation was, though, remember he left the samples for us of the, I
Yep.
think it's for some kind of steel on the outside.
Yes, aluminum on the outside, wood on the inside.
Yeah. Now, the good thing that council did take in, or did agree with, was the proportions. So the architect was recommending to have the proportions mimic the 80s or 70s version that's in there now, but council voted to go with the original proportion based on the postcard pictures. So those will look a little bit more.
Yeah.
Good,
Just
good.
fit the space. So that was a big win. What was I thought there was another one, Lorraine. Oh, they found some extra stone in the basement or somewhere, it sounds like. So it sounds like they're going to be able to fix that door where they cut out on Church Street. They cut out a bunch and it doesn't really match the sill or the lintel. So they're going to try to use some of the recycled stone to make that back to what it used to be.
Oh, yeah, Carrie's window there.
Yeah, that door window.
Yep.
And now it's been a couple months, so it's a little bit rusty. I don't know if I'm missing anything else, Lorraine.
No, that's good. Yeah, that's what I remember too.
They agreed with cleaning the stone and the masonry, but after
Wasn't
Street,
listed though, was it? It wasn't
No,
listed in the final draft.
I think the rationale on it was, it's a good idea and we need to do it, but let's wait until Beckwith construction's over, and there's not going to be a big dust cloud stirred up right after it gets washed. So over, I would say it was positively received. It's just the windows were the one thing that didn't get through. So
Okay.
The railings on the higher quality railings on the ramp and that kind of thing. it sounds like that's going ahead. But it's one of those things where it said it's gone ahead. There's been other times where we've got confirmation and then it doesn't happen that way. So I think we need to be on top of this stuff and maybe even ask for an update on I think the tender is opening either this week or next week. So if it hasn't opened already, so maybe when that tender opens, we want to take another look at everything and just make sure things are lining up the way they were planned to.
Okay.
Very good idea.
Is there someone that could ask for maybe the tender package and the results? Or could we get that to the committee?
Can you get that, Mary?
I will give it a shot. I will ask and see what happens.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's go to the next item then, the bylaw rewrite project. Mary, I guess you have an update for us on that?
So as you would recall, it was October or November that the committee asked staff to proceed with out of budget approval for 2021 for the remaining funds needed to do bylaw rewrites and refreshes of our existing heritage designating bylaws. So it did take a little while to get to council because it was budget time, but thankfully in December 2021, council did grant out of budget approval for the remaining funds needed to conduct the project, and staff have now retained MTBA to conduct the project after we had discussed with the evaluating committee during the RFQ process. So that project has actually commenced. This week I had sent over all of the records that I have on file between Dorothy, myself, and the Heritage House Museum for all the properties that we're hoping to have bylaws written for. And yeah, now it's just a little bit of a waiting game until I hear from them on next steps.
Amazing.
Well, that's great that we got that one accomplished. That's
Mhm.
been several years in the making, hasn't it?
Very good.
Yeah. Okay, how about the Tourism Relief Fund?
So that was something that was discussed in fall of last year as well. The last meeting, I was directed to take a closer look at it. The timeline to apply was a little closer than what I had thought it was. So I had reached out to a couple of other departments to get information, see if it had been used. And what I understand is that the funding was planned to be applied for by another department, and only one grant would be issued per municipality. And it sounded to me like the other project met more of the criteria than the Heritage Symposium would. So I was worried that I was going to cram in a lot of work in a short time frame to apply for a grant that we weren't going to be successful in. So staff made the call not to apply.
Okay.
So did someone else apply? Another group applied for it?
That's what I understood. It was rather Community Services or Heritage House was looking to apply at it as well.
Okay, that brings us to the former water treatment plant. Is there an update on the condition of the building or plans for the building or?
Yes, so November 17th, when the committee met, Lorraine had brought to our attention just a few areas on the building that looked unsecure. So after the meeting, I went down and I took a few photos. Those were sent to Director Manhire, and he confirmed that he was in receipt of the photos and he secured the building in those locations because there was a few reported windows broken, and I found, while I attended the site, I actually found an open window as well. So I had reported out those aspects to him and he has secured the area.
Thank you, Mary.
Great work, Mary. Sorry if anybody's got their hand up. Dorothy.
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's amazing, Mary. Thanks a lot. Disappointing that it's still the same issues coming up again, but I appreciate you going down and getting it fixed.
Yeah.
One piece of good news on this one is that the RFP was canceled from the first round and it's going to be reissued for the property. And there seemed to be consensus. Well, there was consensus at the council table to have that RFP come through council before it's released. And there seemed to be consensus to give extra points for recycling of existing buildings and using the heritage attributes as part of a new design. So hopefully a lot of those discussions or a lot of the drawbacks of the last round we went through will just be skipped this time, because the expectations will be set at the RFP stage. So the developer will know what they're dealing with, know what we appreciate, and know what needs to be saved, kind of thing.
Great.
Okay, thank you, Chris. That brings us to round table then. Tony, do you have anything?
I've already spilled the beans with the Ontario Heritage Conference, so that's about it. Looking very forward to do that. It's the theme is about the collaboration between Brockville and Smith Falls, the Railway Museum in Smith Falls, and how it's boosted tourism in the area. So yeah, I'm looking forward to promoting that, because I'm promoting the town as well as the museum. And for those who don't know, the Brockville and Ottawa Railway, the Smith Falls was its first stop and its inaugural run in 1858.
The Brockville to Ottawa Railway. Now, which track was that on?
Came from Brockville up through the tunnel. It came to Smith Falls. It had a spur track over to Perth. Then they were off to Carleton Place. And then they made it as far as Almont. Then the spur track went over to Bytown, because 1858, there was no Ottawa. It was Brockville and Ottawa because it was the Brockville and Ottawa River. The goal was to get to Sand Point. So that's yeah. They were
So it's the Ottawa Valley Rail Trail now, right? It's not, it didn't actually go to Ottawa itself.
It went to the Ottawa River.
Yeah.
At Sand Point.
Where the lighthouse is.
Yes.
Yes.
Which I just got a picture from a local lady in Smith Falls. Her great grandmother was from Sand Point, and she just sent me a picture of her aunt, her great aunt, and her great grandmother walking down the street in Sand Point in 1896.
Does Sandpoint have another name now?
No,
Where is that?
Sand Point, you go above Iron Prior, you follow
yes.
the river
Oh, yes, okay,
up past Brayside, and you
Yeah.
end up at Castleford,
okay.
which was named Lisa Purdon Bell's great grandfather. He lost his leg in the War of 1812, and he named it Castleford after where he came from in England.
Oh, okay. Just a wealth of information here.
Well, you got me started.
Well, last winter I walked that trail from Smith Falls all the way to Renfrew and back. So I remember Sand Point. Yeah, it was.
My God.
Well, not all in one day, of course.
No, but that's amazing.
Over a series of walks. It was that part along the Ottawa River was the best part. It was lovely.
That was my favorite part. I used to go from Smith Falls to Renfrew on fast rate, an hour and 20 minutes. I drove that line for 25 years.
Really?
Oh my. Amazing.
So you know all the features along the way.
Yes, yep, Rhodey's Bay, every one of them, yep.
Lorraine, did you want to?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about, it wasn't on the agenda, but we got this, I put it into a booklet form, the storefront and signage guidebook.
What is it called?
The storefront and signage guidebook. Town of
Oh,
Smith
yes,
Falls.
yes. Yeah, 17 pages or so.
More than that.
Yeah, I just put it in
43
Dropbox.
pages.
Sorry, Lorraine, for any confusion. That was part of the package that Chris had circulated regarding the render deck feedback. So that was an add-in from the consultant that conducted that project. They kind of created a guidebook on how to achieve the looks or on how to improve your facade. So that was just an additional additional information as part of that package.
Well, I love this one. I think it's great. I bound it because I think it's worth keeping. I really like it.
I'll have another look at.
The pictures of it, the pictures of it that demonstrates it, the colors they chose, everything about it I liked.
Okay.
But what you're saying is it was pitched with the other one.
So it was actually part of it. So what had happened was we were doing the project to create the renders for the 20 downtown properties. And basically the consultant that was chosen thought that it would be of benefit to develop a guidebook. So they included it as part of the
I like it.
deliverable of the project.
I didn't see the connection to the other one at all. The pictures, and I like it very much.
Wonder if Chris was able to have a look at it. Did you see it, Tony? Did you look into it?
Yes, yes, I looked at it online today before the meet, while I was waiting for the meeting to start.
Did you think it was similar to the one we didn't like, or?
I thought it was a little bit more dignified, for a word.
Okay.
I thought it was a better rendition,
Polished, yeah.
a higher end rendition of the other one. It wasn't
Okay.
as cookie cutter.
Okay.
Okay. Katie, do you have anything for roundtable?
No,
Chris, do you?
Yeah, I guess the Heritage Conference is exciting, and I forget what year it was in Ottawa. That was the last time I've been able to go to it. I'm thinking if we should start thinking about who wants to go and if where's the money's going to come from and that kind of thing. If members of the committee, because I know like as councillors we get to go pick conferences to go to, but if members of the committee want to go to this conference, I would highly recommend it, and hopefully we can find some funding for the registration. And like I would even support using the symposium money to send people to the conference, because it's just such a big deal, right? It's province wide and everybody comes together. I know in the Community Heritage Ontario newsletter email, they were asking for articles from neighboring communities of things that people might like to visit if they're coming to town for the week or the weekend or kind of thing. So maybe that's something where we could, maybe they could recycle some of Ted's articles, or maybe as Tony was saying, he might want to write something specific for them. I just think it's amazing how his articles and his social media feeds are really creating a positive buzz and momentum around all the heritage stuff and bringing out these stories that I don't think very many of us knew. And it's an exciting time for all our heritage efforts. So
I agree. It's such a pleasure to read every story. It's amazing.
When is that, Chris? When is that conference?
is it June, you said, Tony? 16th to 18th, I think?
June
Yeah,
16th to 16th through the 18th
In Brockville?
in Brockville. So yeah, it's close to Don's Fish and Chips. I'm going.
It'd be nice if we could all go, wouldn't it?
Yes, let's hope
I
things
mean,
are,
it's close by. It's, yeah.
It's a Thursday to Saturday. So yeah, no, I think we should figure out who wants to go and how much is it going to cost and try to figure it out, because it's just so well done, right? It's the big one and it's close to home.
Mhm.
And it'd be good to support the Brockville team that put it together.
Mhm.
Yes, so we need to find out how much it costs then to register. and
Maybe we
whether-
put it on the agenda next month.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
I think the person to contact would be Mary Ann Gibson. I think she has something to do with it, putting the presentation together. She's from Kitley, Elizabethtown. I was at the unveiling of that plaque they did in Newborough last year. I went over to see that.
Okay.
Well, so can we get some more information for the next meeting, do you think, or? I mean,
I will fire her off an email tomorrow and ask her for information, okay?
Great.
excellent. Thanks, Tony. Mary, do you have anything for a roundtable?
I guess my roundtable item is more related to the next item, which is the next meeting. I had asked
Okay.
if the committee would be
Right.
a meeting on February 23rd instead of the 16th, as I'm not available the evening of the 16th.
That's fine
Did you
with
get
me.
everybody's reply?
I only got your reply, Katie, so I thought I would bring it up at the meeting.
Oh, okay.
I'm fine with that.
Me too.
Thank you.
So
February,
23rd.
February 23rd, I believe, is the Wednesday, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Quick question, Mary, when do you think your email capabilities are going to be back up again? I've been getting some weird emails today.
Me too.
Yeah, and they shut
Yes.
everything down. If you mean long-term, I don't have any indication of when it will be fixed for the long term, but I can say that my email is back up and going as of about halfway through this meeting.
I
There
got
was a-
one from Chris and from Malcolm.
Yeah, if I would say if you're trying to get in touch with me, use my cell phone or my personal email because my town email account's been a nightmare now for probably over 6 months, and I'm missing emails, and I'm not my sent emails aren't arriving.
Well, somebody's hacked it because, hey, Tony?
there was a very strange email today which claimed to be from Mary, and I don't believe it was. And it had a link. Did you know about that, Mary?
So here's what I'm doing to help you differentiate that, because I do know that I send links to you on occasion. So I'm trying to name my link. So it shouldn't be so similar format as always, because I only send you links for one thing. It'll rather be an attachment or a link. And the only link I send you is to access the agenda on the town's website. So it'll be the same format as usual, but I've been naming it so that it says the date of the meeting and MHC meeting materials afterwards. So that should be the only link that you receive from me. And if, I'll find a way to differentiate it differently if I'm sending you a link for some other reason.
Okay, well,
Well, the
these
one-
were weird enough that we knew
yeah.
it wasn't right.
The one I got was all about the CIP. It wasn't about the MHC at all, and it was attached to a lot of correspondence that had gone on about the CIP.
Yeah.
And I
That
don't
seems
think,
strange.
yeah, somebody's email got hacked there.
Yeah.
So,
It's not just me, for what it's worth. All town staff seem to be sending out and around and receiving these strange emails. So
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well,
I can tell
Well,
you
you
IT's on the issue. That's all I know at this point.
mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. Perfect.
All right, well, so we've agreed on the date of the next meeting. We deferred discussion of the standards and guidelines because we knew we'd run over if we put that on today. So that can be on next month's agenda.
Okay,
Any final comments before we adjourn? No? Okay, would someone move that we adjourn then, please?
I so do.
Okay, thank you, Tony.
You're welcome. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
bye,
See you on
everybody.
Thank you.
Lorraine, let's talk
Oh, okay. Yay.
later.
Oh, later?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were staying on.
No, I think it's live, so.